Let me just come in here on the issue of crying out for help.
Yeah.
We've had cases where some soldiers have been court-martialed, because they were said to have refused to face the insurgents because, according to them, the insurgents had higher firepower.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, the military court-martialed a couple of them. Some of them were sentenced to death and all of that.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think they should have been court-martialed, even when it is glaring that they were unarmed or not adequately armed?
Okay, thank you for that. First thing is, you need to understand that in the military judicial system, before you get to the point of a court-martial, it's gone through so many things. You have what you call an ordinary room procedure. You have what you call a board of inquiry, and there are so many things like that. Now, I'm not privy to the details of these incidents, but I will say this. I think it's a double-edged thing. On one hand, the truth must be told. We do have soldiers who have exhibited cowardice, and that's not peculiar to this fight. You have it in every warfare that you undertake. There will be those who will exhibit cowardice. But on the other hand, there are antidotes to some of these things. The training, the quality of training that has been received, engaging in drills and exercises, because those are the things that enhance your preparedness in battle. And these are things you must have done in peacetime, not just even when rubber hits the ground, So a lot of these things, we need to, like you've rightly said, review the equipping of our personnel, because yes, for a lot of them, they are going in poorly equipped. And so there is the issue of morale. The person's morale is already, the person has probably even resigned in his mind that, well, I'm going to die anyways. So sometimes at the first shot of the gun, there are those realities. But I think the current leadership needs to take it upon themselves to see that they properly equip our personnel. One of the things I've always said, at this stage, the basic infantry weapon, we're still looking at the AK-47. We should have graduated from that. There are much more sophisticated weapons. You should not be sending a soldier, an infantry soldier to the front without bulletproof vests, without proper helmets and all of that. So these are things that need to be looked at. I'm aware, like I've said, there's been improvement, but a lot more still needs to be done. And I always say this: the soldiers on the front need our support. More than anything, there's this, I always say there's a psychological dimension to this fight. And one thing that you can do is always encourage those. The media should find ways, creative ways to encourage our troops so that they can go far and beyond the call.
This is very important. Sorry to cut you there, because it's absolutely important to the extent that even though a lot of countries that are not in a state of war, that they have some soldiers outside fighting, almost in their airports. Yeah. All over the airport you see banners talking about these people, or people there with confettis and so many other stuff to welcome them when they come back, and so many other privileges given to those people. Obviously, that will boost their morale. What can we do? Because it seems that this is really absent in our climb here. It is not part of our culture. How can we make this a cultural thing to the extent that our serving men and women are given some kind of honor and respect?
First, I'll put this squarely, primarily at the feet of the government. I've always said that there's nothing wrong in us admitting, and we need to declare that we're in a state of war. This country is at war. And for that reason, the kind of information that we dish out, especially from the government level, whilst you don't want to create fear, you don't want people to panic. If anything, you want them to be strong in these times, because that's what is required. We must be able to go about our normal duties, but with the consciousness and with the knowledge that we are at war. That way, you see, because some of these things, they are not even government-driven. Yes, I've said government, but I've been at the airport. Sometimes you're traveling in the US, and people make deliberate efforts to gather together. It's like community. There's a sense of community. They gather together. When they see the troops coming, they begin to clap. They begin to celebrate them. That's one thing we can do at our level. Now, what the government needs to do, we need to put faces to the casualties. People are, sometimes make them look like heroes, because they are heroes.
They are heroes.
You understand? Let us see their faces. Let us be able to see their families. Give them befitting burials. Give them national honors. Yes, they are doing what they are paid to do, but many times they are going far and beyond, and we need to recognize them when they do so. You know, so it's an effort, and beyond, in fact, beyond an effort, it has to be a culture, because it's like the culture is not even there. We choose to just want. If thank God for Facebook. The truth is, many times someone died because anybody who dies in the front is either someone's brother, is someone's son, is someone's friend, someone's classmate, and then you hear, this person, we've heard that he's been killed though. So within that circle, you can see somebody putting up the person's picture or photograph in his DP and all of that. That way, you know, and those things go a long way. Sometimes you just need to talk to some of them, and they will tell you that, listen, when we signed up for this, we knew that it's probably going to take our lives. This is where I will exit this universe from. You know, but want to go in style, want to go knowing that we were recognized or we appreciated for what we have offered to the country. So that is where I believe the government needs to take that matter up from.
But beyond the government, what can the citizens do? If the government's not doing it, but you know that these people are out there for you. This time, I'm not just talking about the military, the police, the DSS,
Yes.
I mean, all those agencies that
exactly.
are out there.
Risking their lives.
If they're not recognized, can that be said to account for why some of them misbehave and take it out on the citizens sometimes?
To be honest, I wouldn't know, because it is a possibility. There's that feeling of, okay, well, even if I die, nobody's going to look at, exactly, nobody cares. So I might as well just look out for myself, look out for number one. It is there. But like I said, it's not hard to make everybody fall into line, especially within the services the agencies and the services who are responsible for our protection. It's a culture within the system. So if you get things right within the system, it's very easy for the man to line up. When he sees that he can be properly incentivized, his family can be taken care of when he dies, he's motivated to do what he's paid to do.
Let me take you back a bit to when Tola asked the question about the sponsors.
Yeah.
How easy is it to trace movement of funds? Because some of these funds, then maybe the bulk of it is not coming from within.
Yeah.
But how easy is it to trace the sponsors of some of these terrorist activities?
I don't think it's too hard. Everybody have said it, and it's true. I've heard it on this show. People have come here to say it, that combating terrorism these days is largely intelligence-driven. And a lot of this intelligence you can get from many sources. Now, one of the sources is foreign partnerships. That's why it's one of the reasons we need them. So you can actually trace those the money route. But let me say something about, I think sometimes that whole thing is overrated, because the truth is preparing an IED doesn't cost so much. You can prepare an IED with, a gardener can do so with his salary. It doesn't need so much. So I think to a large extent, yes, there's that aspect. I mean, I talked about the platforms that they have earlier and the sophistication that they have shown. So that is there. But then there are other ways too. So I don't want us to go tunnel vision on the financial support routes and all of that. But yes, we can trace it within our banking system and the global banking system. All these things can be traced.
A guest of ours yesterday talked about paramilitary training for youth service corps members and all of that, because at this point in time, even if we say we are not a country at war, the reality is staring us in the face. You know, what do you think the mindset of the Nigerian person will be when those who are actually enrolled in the military are not adequately catered for? And then I send my child for youth service, and the next thing, the government wants to mandatorily train him. Of course, it's supposed to be for your own good, and then expect him to wake up and call for service for his country on short notice.
I think you've said it all. It's hearts and mind. And the government has a responsibility to create that environment for people to know that, listen, we're in this together. This fight is one that everybody has a role to play. I'm a bit cautious about the issue of the paramilitary training. However, because I believe we must do this in stages. First off, let's review what is happening. If we are talking about the counter-insurgency fight on the front, clearly there's need for a surge of sorts. We need to beef up, if more than triple the amount of troops we have committed to that theater, to that whole fight. Now, once we've done this, if we are seeing that we don't have the kind of numbers to continue to sustain the fight till victory, then we should begin to have debates on possible conscripts, looking at how we can get young men, vibrant men, and women too, to see, look, sell this thing to them. And that's why I say that this is a very holistic thing. Everybody needs to believe in this country. For one.
Love for country.
Yeah, exactly. Believe in the country. If you do not believe in the country, look, it doesn't matter how, it's going to be difficult for you to want to give yourself, let your child go into, you cannot commit to this fight or want to play your own part if you don't have that sense of nationalism, which is very needed at this time.
I'm so excited we're talking about this, especially when we talk about cultural issues and how we can put this as part of our culture. If the government is lacking or lagging behind on that, we too can pick up the gauntlet and do something. Exactly. After all, from nowhere, we have a new culture of always saying Happy New Month. Yeah. So people can ask as well, create a culture of support for the Nigerian military. And you also said that we should always let the people know fallen heroes. They should be mentioned. Yeah. They should be celebrated even in death. Yeah. And which of the departments do you think should handle all of that? Because quite frankly, as you highlighted, if not for the social media, a lot of people wouldn't even know the demise or the fallen heroes because most of them are not even mentioned. Now we're getting into an era that will culminate, a period that will culminate in January, talking about fallen heroes.
January 15.
January 15. Yeah. And we have the poppy already being worn by a lot of people. How can we bring those people out very quickly before we leave? We want to know which arm of the Nigerian army or the military that should celebrate those people so that everyone, those watching, myself, yourself, we can start this culture and say, these are heroes and they must not go in vain.
Okay, it's not, for me, I think we should because these people belong to an organization. In this case, it's the military, whether it's the Army, the Navy, or the Air Force. Oh, by the way, you also have the Navy deployed in this fight as well, because they do have special forces personnel who are deployed as we speak. So it's a tri-service thing. Now, within there are various services. You have your own public relations units that should be able to give them visibility within the service. Now, you also have the Ministry of Information. That is one of the things that they should do, but then there has to be, the Ministry of Information is not going to just speak out, okay, we heard or we saw on social media. There has to be that bridge between the military and then
and information
exactly
ministry.
So that is where you now have that steady stream, because in the US you see it, they bring the bodies as the body is leaving, as the body is landing in the country. They are taking the body, wheeling the body out of the aircraft. You see everything is televised, everybody sees it, so you see that the media is carried along. Everybody sees it, and it's no secret. Everybody looks at the son or the child of that person and says, we know what your father did for us, and for that reason we are here for you. So it's going to be everybody, but like I said, it's going to have to start from the respective organizations or arms of service that these soldiers are serving.
Well, I'd like to thank you so much, retired Flight Lieutenant Terry Ajobina, for speaking with us today. We'll keep it up and see how we can continue on this particular one. Security should be on the plate weekly, if not on a daily basis. Many thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.